For the longest time, I thought I had the perfect life. My name is Ima, and I was married to Akon, a man I cherished beyond words. We had 3 beautiful children who lit up our world, and from the outside, anyone could see that we looked like a family straight out of a dream. Our lives seemed flawless, one that friends admired and strangers envied. Akon's family was well-to-do, respected, and always treated me like their own daughter. They were kind-hearted, generous, and welcomed me with open hands. I couldn't have asked for better in-laws. Akon was everything a husband and a father should be. He worked hard to provide for us, and his dedication was evident. But as I look back now, I realize how fragile the peace of a happy life can be. What felt like a perfect dream was on the brink of shattering. It started gradually. Akon, once so full of life and energy, began complaining of weaknesses. At first, he would come home looking tired, but he would brush it off, saying it was just a little stress. I believed him, assuming he was simply overworked. But soon, his vibrant spirit started to dim. His steps grew slower. His face looked worn, and a hint of heaviness replaced the spark in his eyes. So one evening, as we sat together after dinner, he struggled to stay awake. His fatigue was evident, and I felt a worry in my heart. His reassuring smile, the one he gave me each time I expressed concern, was there, but it was weak. "I am fine, Ima. Just need a good night's sleep," he would say. But even I could see he was trying to convince himself as much as he was trying to convince me. Then came the night that would change everything. Akon collapsed in our living room, his body limp, his breath shallow. My heart raced as I called out his name, desperately hoping he would open his eyes. We rushed him to the hospital, and as we waited, my mind raced through 1,000 different fears. I sat by his side, holding his hands, refusing to let go, as if that alone would keep him safe. After what felt like hours, the doctor returned with a solemn expression. He looked at me, then at Akon, and spoke words I never thought I would hear. "Your husband has kidney failure. He will need a transplant, and soon." I felt the ground shift beneath me. Kidney failure? It was something I had only ever read about, something I have never imagined would touch our lives. As the reality set in, I looked at Akon, whose face was thick with fear, and I knew without a doubt that I need to do anything to save him. This turned into a flurry of tests and meetings with specialists. Akon's family rallied around us, supportive and loving as always. But the tension in the air was undeniable. We were all hopeful, yet terrified, knowing time was slipping through our fingers. We could afford the best care, but finding a matching donor was another challenge entirely. Watching Akon's health decline was heartbreaking. Each day, he seemed weaker, his once vibrant spirit now overshadowed by illness. I couldn't bear to stand by and do nothing, so I decided to get tested to see if I could be his donor. My family was horrified when they heard of my decision. They worried for my well-being, urging me to think of our children and the risks involved. My sister most especially tried to dissuade me, pleading with me to reconsider. But my love for Akon was stronger than any fear. I couldn't stand by while he suffered. I needed to be there for him, just as he had been there for us all these years. After the test, the result came back. I was a match. Relief flooded me, bringing a renewed sense of hope, and the surgery was scheduled. On the day of the operation, Akon and I shared a moment that I will never forget. He looked at me, his eyes filled with gratitude, and whispered, "Thank you, Ima. I don't deserve this." I squeezed his hand, reassuring him that we were in it together. The surgery went smoothly and we returned home to heal. Akon, once again, was full of life, his strength and energy returning day by day. For a time, it felt like we had emerged from a dark storm into the light. His family praised me, calling me the miracle wife, while my own family softened, finally understanding the depth of my love. Life resumed its normal rhythm, and Akon was back to work, his old self, or so I thought. But something began to change. So slight at first, I almost didn't notice. He started coming home late each night. It was gradual, just an extra hour here or there. But soon it became a routine. I convinced myself it was due to work. He had missed so much time and had to catch up, or so I reasoned. But as the weeks passed, his late nights turned into frequent absence. Some nights he wouldn't even call at all, and I'll find myself waiting, glancing at the clock, worry twisting in my chest. When he did come home, his answers were brief, and he seemed distracted, almost as if we were miles away. It's just work, he'd say, brushing me off. But deep down, I felt something shifting between us, an invisible wall growing taller by the day. One night, the tension reached its peak. Akon came home late, his expression distant, almost cold. I felt the need to reach out, to break the silence that had crept into our lives. But when I did, he snapped. "Can't a man be tired without being questioned?" he said, his tone sharper than I ever heard before. His words cut deep, and I felt a pain that went beyond the surface. It wasn't just his harshness, it was the realization that something precious between us was slipping away. Days turned into weeks, and the warmth of our relationship continued to fade. I tried to ignore the feeling in my heart, the suspicion that something was wrong, but it was impossible to shake. Late at night, I would lay awake, replaying our recent conversations, searching for clues, wondering if I had done something wrong. But reality began to dawn on me. It all started when I fainted in my office and was rushed to the hospital. My sister called my husband to tell him what happened to me. He told her he was coming, but he never came. When I regained consciousness, my sister narrated all that happened. I tried calling, but his number was not reachable. I called the house, but was told he was not around. My sister started lamenting, reminding me of my family's stand on the operation I did. I shut her up, saying she should never talk about my family in that manner again. Although the hospital told me it was lack of rest that caused me to faint, not complications from the surgery as my family had thought. After my discharge, I got home and met my husband very relaxed. He gave me a flimsy excuse of why he never visited me during the 3 days I spent in the hospital. My in-laws never came either. This got me thinking. I then decided to test him. With the help of my daughter, I started acting weak at home. My husband started being distant. He rarely came home or checked up on me. The love was lost in my home. One day, my husband came in with my father-in-law and mother-in-law to see me. My father-in-law started by saying my husband complained to them that I was very weak and could no longer perform my wifely duties. They told me that since I was sick and weak, they were going to get another wife for their son so he could have someone to meet his needs. I was shocked hearing this from my in-laws. My mother-in-law continued that the new wife would help satisfy my husband at night and cook for him. They made it sound as if they were doing me a favor. These people of whom I sacrificed my life for. Shortly after that, I was resting in my room when my mother-in-law came to visit. Not seeing me in the sitting room, she entered the master bedroom to look for me. She came with a young, beautiful lady. When they entered, she introduced her as my husband's new wife and told me to pack my things to the guest house so the new wife could be comfortable. My world came crumbling right before me. When my husband came back, I confronted him, but was shocked by his response. He said he was not divorcing me, but that I should allow him to live his life. If you need money for the kidney I donated, just say so. You will be heavily compensated. he said, dismissing my pain as if it were a mere inconvenience. I was broken. A man I sacrificed everything for, and yet he was willing to toss our marriage aside without a second thought. The betrayal cut deeper than any knife. It shattered my heart into a million irreplaceable pieces. The days that followed felt surreal. I wandered around our home like a ghost, the walls echoing with memories of laughter and love that once filled our house. I couldn't understand how the man I had fought so hard to save could so easily dismiss my sacrifices. My heart felt like a heavy stone in my chest, weighing me down as despair wrapped around me like a suffocating blanket. Weeks passed and I fell into depression. My children were my only solace. I forced myself to smile for them, to play, pretend in their innocent world, while my own crumbled around me. I wanted to be strong for them, to show them that their mother would never give up, even when everything felt hopeless. I accepted my new reality of living in the guest room, swallowed my pride, and tried to keep the peace. After all, I was still the first wife. But the truth was, I felt invisible in my own home. Ekong's new wife moved into the master's bedroom, and I heard laughter coming from the other side of the wall. Laughter that once filled my home, now shared with someone else. The betrayer clawed at my inside like a relentless beast, gouling away at my spirit. But within the depth of my sorrow, a fire ignited, a fierce determination to reclaim my life and my dignity. I had given Ekong a second chance at life, and now it was my turn to take it back. I decided I would not let him walk all over me, nor will I remain a mere shadow of the woman I used to be. As the days turned into weeks, I began to plot my revenge. My heart, once full of love, now boiled with anger and resentment. I thought of all the moments he had taken for granted, all the times I had put him before myself, and I felt a surge of strength. I would ensure that he faced the consequences of his actions. I started adding small doses of illegal substances and medications that could harm his overall health, kidney, and manhood to his food and water whenever I had the chance. I am taking everything with me. I wanted to make him feel the betrayal I had felt physically and emotionally. I wanted him to suffer as I had, to realize that the love we shared had not only been one-sided, but had also become a weapon he wielded against me. As I watched him grow weaker, I felt a sense of satisfaction, a twisted form of justice for the years of sacrifices I had given him. He would understand the pain he caused, and I would ask for a divorce, taking half of his possession with me after now. Let your new wife give you her kidney for a chance to live again, I thought bitterly. The darkness that had consumed me began to lift as I embraced my newfound power. I was not just a victim. I was a woman scorned, ready to reclaim my narrative. I found myself smiling again, not because I was happy, but because I was finally in control. And so, I continued my plan, driven by a fierce need for justice. Each meal I prepared and poisoned became a reminder of the life I had once had and the love I had sacrificed. I would not allow myself to feel pity for him. He had made his choices, and now he would face the consequences. The day I made the final decision to confront Ekong would come. But for now, I would continue my slow, deliberate dismantling of the life he had built on my sacrifice. I was prepared to do whatever it took to ensure that he felt every ounce of pain I had endured. Let his new wife give him a kidney. Let her also make sacrifices for him too, because I am on the mission to reclaim all I gave him for his second chance of life. The future was uncertain, but one thing was clear. I was ready to face whatever lay ahead, armed with the knowledge that I was strong enough to overcome the darkness that threatened to consume me. I invite you to share your thoughts in the comments below. What lessons resonate with you from this story? Your insight might inspire someone else to reflect on their own relationship.